If you are attending this presentation today, a country schoolhouse has probably captured your attention, and in some cases, a lot of your time. Your question may be, how can we make the best use of our schoolhouse to serve this community? You may actually own a historic schoolhouse. You may have attended one, taught in one, or written a book about a schoolhouse. You may be a member of a historic society or preservation group that provides living history experiences for school children and visitors. You may be a researcher, a reenactor, a photographer, or a schoolhouse museum curator. You may have repurposed a schoolhouse, converting it into a home, a shop, a cafe, or an office, and giving it, in that way, a second life. By assuming any of these roles, you are a preservationist, keeping alive the buildings, their story, and the traditions of our one-room schools. These little buildings are monuments to an American ideal, and here we will tell you why country schools are worth saving and worth offering living history programs. This is the schoolhouse I fell for in 2005 when I took a position as a school marm reenactor. This is the District No. 1 schoolhouse in 1898. The District No. 1 schoolhouse is Nashua, New Hampshire's only existing schoolhouse in its original condition and location, still welcoming children in a history program since 1978. Like the District No. 1, schoolhouses that survive afford us the opportunity to offer the history and the legacy of our early public schools, the dedicated teachers, the children who attended them, and the dreamers and reformers who sought community-supported public education in the interest of our ever-expanding and self-confident nation. Your hard work and dedication to restoration and preservation makes it all possible. National Public Radio aired a series on one-room schools in 2005 and found that country schools have histories and styles as varied as their locales, estimating that there were about 219,000 schools nationwide at the turn of the 20th century. Researchers have also used that number as an estimate since records were never centralized long before the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. was ever established. Today, we can say that a few thousand of them probably still exist, with the help of enthusiasts like yourself. In researching country schools, you come across some very impressive titles assigned to these humble little buildings that speak of the hopes and the dreams of a diverse nation molding their children into Americans. Pillars of the Republic, citadels of learning, emblems of our nation, beloved national icons, seminary of letters, landmarks of learning. That just about says it all. And while an education historian may call them pillars of the Republic, locals who built the schoolhouses chose more simple, picturesque names, and the reasons for such names were often lost with the passage of time, and the changing landscape. Imagine the reasons for naming the Bellyache School, or the Buzzard Roost School, the Snake Den School, Good Intent School, Last Chance School, Beehive School, Broken Bone School. They may have been named after the town or the township, a benefactor, a famous American, the family who owned the land upon which the school sat, animals or nature, a nearby geographical feature, a celestial occurrence, a historical event, or merely by district number. Reference is often made to the Little Red Schoolhouse, but we know that they came in every color and every building material and every style. They were infinitely varied in their design according to local tastes, building materials, and traditions, but few of them measured more than 900 square feet. Small buildings came with big expectations. The local control of those country schools, the superintending committees, the teachers, the parents of the district, and the scholars themselves are all subjects of a fascinating history. But for today, the question will be, how can we preserve our country school? And what is the best way to share it with our community? How fortunate you are that you saved your schoolhouse, because the country school era sustained itself for about 100 years until an increase in population and the building of graded schools put our country schools out of business. Schools had merged in a movement called consolidation. By that time, country schools were being sold to the highest bidder for conversion to homes and workshops, garages and offices, reused as storage sheds and grain bins and corn cribs. They were burned for fire department training, and they were bulldozed in the name of progress. But as you can see, many were simply abandoned and left to the ravages of time. The most fortunate of our schoolhouses are attached to some historical significance or a famous person in history. Groups much like yourselves have saved schoolhouses by arranging a move to a place of safety, one step ahead of the wrecking ball. Preservationists have jacked them up and trucked them to new locations, spending tens of thousands of dollars to transport them after negotiating with town councils, engineers, transportation officials, and state police. Friends of country schools across this nation have lobbied politicians, fought off developers, hired lawyers, consulted historical architects, amassed volunteers, and plunged into countless hours of hard labor and endless fundraising. Volunteers have gathered to clean, repair, replace, paint, shingle, lay bricks, locate artifacts and furniture, and work the grounds. A seemingly endless list of tasks to the final unveiling of a newly resurrected Temple of Learning. The results have been astounding. It starts with the determination of one or two visionaries or a group of dedicated locals, and it mushrooms into a collective will to get the job done. And so nationwide, the effort continues to convince people that one-room schools and their rich history are worth saving. So let's make a case for a living history program at your schoolhouse. You begin with the why. In 1835, educator Orville Taylor said, "Schools are the depositories of liberty. He who founds a schoolhouse of instruction establishes the liberty of his country, and he who educates the people makes them free. He who wishes his country to take a high standing among the nations of the earth, he who wishes for the growing improvement of his countrymen, and he who wishes the perpetuity of this glorious example of liberty and self-government will desire to do all in his power to educate the people." You will tell your visitors that in the one-room school, children learn patriotism, loyalty, English, their unifying language, and here they assumed a national identity. And through those themes, you would produce a moral, patriotic, and literate group of voters who loved this country. Your efforts at staging your schoolhouse with artifacts from daily use will help your scholars get a feel for the times. Your Living History program will transport your visitors back in time while introducing them to the job of the teachers who taught 9 grades, all subjects and all levels, and how he or she managed that task. You can discuss the rigors of the 19th and 20th century, the seasons the children attended, their workload at home, and their long hours in the schoolhouse. You will surely cover the rules of the school and speak of the discipline and the expectations of the scholars as to their behavior. Visitors can experiment with slates and slate pencils for a lesson, and then dip pens in ink for cursive writing practice. Your scholars might recite poetry or memorize a daily memory gem. Your program might hold a spelling bee, sing songs of the times, or toe the line to take turns at oral reading in their readers. You might like to share a story from local, state, or United States history. You might include some games and toys of the era that you choose to reenact. And learning about the outhouse is always a hit. One-room schools across the country hold such classes, and help is available to get you started in your planning. Resources are readily available from existing one-room school programs, and they love to share. So in closing, it looks like you're already on your way. If you build the program, your visitors will come. Your community will rally behind you. Your volunteers will appreciate the opportunity to pitch in. Young people will want to get involved because country schools bring out the best in people of all ages.